3 o'clock on a Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all. That's my southern way of saying it. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Lots to get to on today's program. Busy in Gamecock land. Both basketball teams making news over the weekend for various reasons. Dawn Staley's team, a number one seed, but not the number one overall seed. Does Coach have a little bit of a gripe? Is that gripe maybe better utilized privately? We'll get into that discussion. South Carolina men had an opportunity they did not want to take. Gamecock baseball, disappointing loss yesterday. Had it, blew it. Sorry, no other way. Not going to sugarcoat. Not going to say, I'm not. Yeah, you're up by 2 at home in the 9th. You have to win the baseball game, man. And when you don't, and then you had a chance in the 10th, and you couldn't bring him across, which has been another problem. But I had somebody hit me and say, that's something, and I'm not saying it's the wrong way to look at it. Just, like, hey, something about patience at the plate or something, I guess, in the 10th. And I was like, you made 2 defensive miscues in the 9th when you were up by 2 runs. Well, one of them you were up by 2 runs, and then another one you still could have won the baseball game when you were up by 1 run. But you didn't. We'll talk to Coach Maneri coming up in just a little bit. And Coach Beamer has spoken. Tomorrow, Gamecock Pro Day. Spring practice gets underway this week. Not a whole lot of news from Shane today. A few tidbits here and there. I think the biggest piece of news, 1A, 1B. 1A, Michael Smith will not be practicing this spring because just something tells me that Michael Smith could emerge as 2025's version of the easy button. I don't know. I could be dead wrong.
Tight ends work very well.
They love the tight ends. They've got a good group of them again. Brady Hunt got hurt. Now he'll be back. And they've got other guys they like, man. They do. But I think Smith has a lot of promise as a younger player. And then the second one is Rasul Faison, who I was under the impression was fully cleared, but apparently not quite yet. He's with the Diego Pavia rule, which, I'm not saying this about whomever. Okay, it's not the kids. All right, grown-ups in the room at whatever level, make up your damn mind. All right, I know you don't want to get sued. All right, but where does it stop? I do. So I'm not mad at the kids for taking any opportunity, any legal avenue, whatever other things they may have at their disposal. But I would say in college, the old adage of you get 5 to play 4 needs to hold. And I will tell you, whether it could benefit or harm South Carolina or Vandy or Clemson or Georgia or whatever, I really don't care. If you go to a school after you graduate high school, and it's a college, whether it's a 2-year college or a 4-year college, or maybe some weird 3-year college, I don't know. All right? Then you're going to college. If it's community college, if it's junior college, if it's technical college, it's still not high school, and the clock should still run.
So you're counting years spent at ITT Tech.
If you went to 2 years of junior college, am I supposed to say that you now get 4 years at a regular college? I say regular at a 4-year college. You get 6 years
if you take your time.
So anyway,
drag your feet.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but so look, I hope young Mr. Faison gets to play. I know they like him. I think he's going to. It didn't sound today like Shane was really worried about it, just that maybe every I has not yet been dotted nor every T crossed. Is Clark Lee sweating the same thing? Because, Vandy, they really, dare I say, Elijah, and this isn't a knock on Faison, who I've not yet seen play at this level because he hasn't. But could you make the case that Vandy's going to be sweating this more in terms of their need of Pavia relative to Carolina's need of their next tailback? I mean, they've got Attaway, they've got Howell. They've got some guys that have played. Now, again, I want Faison to come in here and go for, $125 a game. It'd be great.
Capability.
So Anyway, those are probably the two biggest pieces of news today, but there were a few other things. And again, Pro Day tomorrow could be a record-setting draft for South Carolina football. When you look at the guys that are going to participate, in addition to the ones that have already been to the Combine or that are making a bigger name for themselves in any kind of full 7-round mock. There's guys with opportunities, I think, to be undrafted free agents, and it could be a really nice spring for Gamecock football alums, and another big selling point for the coaching staff as they hit the trail, both on the high school trail and the portal trail. But anyway, we'll touch on all those things for you. A lot of bracket stuff to get to. I was shocked, I tell you, that the University of North Carolina got into the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and it had nothing to do with the fact that their athletic director was the chairman of the committee.
I'm not going to lie, not even being facetious here. I was genuinely shocked because of how insulting it would be to put them in, knowing that Bubba Cunningham is the chair of the committee.
Okay. I think you and I agree.
They think we're stupid? They think we're stupid?
You and I agree that if we just take one school that got jobbed, look, I'm gonna be careful here because I don't want to sound too hypocritical. That's how I'll put it. Because I have often said, listen, when you're the school complaining about not getting in, you probably needed to win another game or two, and then you wouldn't be complaining.
Especially here.
But in the case of West Virginia, relative to the case of North Carolina or Texas, look, I don't have as much of a problem, honestly, in just looking at a few things with North Carolina. My problem with Texas,
because they stepped into the lane during a free throw.
Yeah, but
a lane violation. That should have been disqualifying already.
Yeah, but I feel for West Virginia, who had nearly as many quad one wins as Texas, has a better record than Texas. Mm-hmm. They play in a very good league. So to me, it's not as much about Bubba Cunningham finding a way covertly to get North Carolina in. And sorry, Bubba, I know. Listen, and to be real, all right, seriously, let me be dead serious because I know I can blend those things, and sometimes y'all can't tell. I do understand that a chair of a committee who has a school under consideration, whatever sport it may be, has to leave the room, and someone else takes over as chair and leads the discussion during that time. And I have read multiple articles about how North Carolina was discussed, and that, I believe them. Hey, we had serious discussions about these schools, Texas and West Virginia, North Carolina, and there's a couple others in there, here and there. San Diego State was one, because that's who Chapel Hill plays, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I get it. But there is, in my opinion, and dare I say estimation, because we never get to be flies on the wall in those rooms, which is something we've all asked for. A lot of this could get cleared up if you just put we don't want to stare and watch you for 12 hours, but somebody will. Some trusted reporters will watch those, and they will, whether it's live tweeting, live blogging, a full report at The Athletic or ESPN or Yahoo or whatever. But you can't tell me, hey, when Bubba comes back, I don't want him to be all he's not going to kill you.
Right.
But you're like, we've been working with Bubba on this all season. And, and it isn't like you don't go out and have dinner and go well, I think we're pretty good. And so is there just that little bit of subconscious bias at work with the committee members? And I have to think to some degree, to some degree, right? But anyway, and again, I don't like to dwell too much on teams that are playing in Dayton and the teams that aren't, because there is that incredibly fine line. I do think, and this gets into a broader discussion, that some of these things are going to be a catalyst, unfortunately, for people like you, sir. Mm-hmm. They're going to be a catalyst for an expanded field. To what number, I'm not so sure.
Well,
but
creating a solution to a problem they made.
Yeah. And again, I'll say, too, I don't like the 16s having to go to Dayton.
That's dumb.
I don't like it.
That's very dumb.
Yeah, I
They
just
earned their way into the 64.
but they're what they tell us is, well, we can only have 4 16s. Well, then I guess a couple of 16s will have to be 15s, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
You pick one, pick
Bump
two.
'em up a line.
I don't care which ones you pick, but you better fix it, right? You fix it. This is a you thing, not an us thing. Conversely, Dawn Staley's team is a number 1 seed, but UCLA got the number 1 overall seed, and it's ironic in a sense that the two USCs are both really hacked off about UCLA. Southern California says, hey, they got 2 losses. Guess who beat them?
Us.
And South Carolina does. Now, South Carolina says, hey, we lost to them, but we have 2 other losses. And the committee basically, and the chair of the committee, I watched her last night. She said straight up, competitiveness in losses is what we finally determined between South Carolina and UCLA. So she admitted it was down to those 2. So Texas and Southern California were 1 seed, 1 seed, 1C and 1D, right?
Right.
And the competitiveness in the loss. So they're holding the Connecticut loss more than anything else against South Carolina. What would the margin of loss had to be, Elijah Campbell, if we still give credit where credit is due to UCLA for beating South Carolina in November, I believe?
Yep. Late November.
Lose by
5, 6, I guess, maybe.
a single-digit loss?
Which is why them saying that poses a really big question. Like, it opens the door for that. They had the easy way out by just saying, look, we thought those were very comparable resumes. It's very, very close. They're not separated by much. We had a data point where they both played on the same day, and they could have said that, and that would have been publicly acceptable.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What if instead of losing to Connecticut by 29 in Columbia, South Carolina, all other games and all other results being exactly as they are, what if South Carolina instead had played Central Connecticut and won by 50? Is South Carolina the number 1 overall seed?
Maybe. That's possible.
What is the committee? That was Dawn's point last night with Holly Rowe. That was one of her points in the local media gaggle. I think she has a legitimate question. I don't want to say it's a gripe because they're still a 1. They're still close to home. Mm-hmm. They're much closer to home than any other 1 seed's going to be. So, in a
UCLA
sense,
and Southern Cal got to go to Spokane.
Yeah. And, Texas, look, Texas will have a lot of people in Birmingham. But anyway, I found that interesting. And Dawn's point, if y'all didn't see it, was like, well, we scheduled to be the number 1 overall seed. And we feel like and Carolina has more quad 1 wins than anybody, and they typically beat the crap out of you.
Yeah, large margin of victory.
How many close wins did Carolina have when you think about it?
Not many.
Right.
Like, even the 2 wins against Texas weren't in close games.
No, you beat them by double. When you beat them, you beat them.
Right.
And when they beat you, you could make a case you probably should have won.
Mm-hmm.
Had about
Kicking themselves.
About 5 or 6 minutes where you didn't play well. We'll discuss all this for you. 803-404-6100. Hop on the phone line, the text line, 803-404-6100. A very busy Monday postgame show rolling on.
whether we were the number 1 overall seed or not, the draw is the draw. I mean, we're gonna play each game like it's our last, and hopefully that leads us to a place hopefully everybody in this room wants us to be.
Dawn Staley last night, South Carolina drawn as the number 1 seed in one of the 2 Birmingham regionals. If you don't remember, women's basketball tournament changed a couple years ago to just 2 regional sites, each of them hosting separate, opportunities to get to the Final Four. So you've got 2 regionals, if you will, at least 2 sides of the bracket. 2 quadrants of the bracket. How's that?
I like that.
Okay. In Birmingham, the other 2 in beautiful Spokane, Washington.
Home of the Zags.
And the
city that John Stockton built.
And the Final Four in Tampa.
Yeah, at Amalie Arena.
Yeah.
The house that Vincent LeCavalier built.
Look at you.
You know.
Yeah. Well, they've won 2 Stanley Cups down there? 3?
I think they won 3. Yeah, they won 3 because they went back-to-back. They had the Bubble Championship, the Bubble Cup, and then they won the one after that. So before that, they had the one in 2004. So they are 3-time Stanley Cup champions. In
Florida. And if I'm not mistaken, are the Panthers the reigning Stanley Cup champions?
They are. After winning a thrilling Game 7 against Edmonton.
I remember watching that.
Hailing in a country that has not won a Stanley Cup
Edmonton,
since before I was born.
And again, all these dudes are Canadian. I mean, 80% of the league's Canadian, right? 70%.
Yeah. A large chunk.
Yeah. Canada and America aren't getting along right now. It's unfortunate. Hopefully the hockey playoffs won't have any further international incidents.
Right. I mean, maybe a craft dinner dispute.
I don't know.
If you know, you know.
Anyway, let's move on. Does Dawn have any kind of gripe? She's not griping, by the way. So I guess the question isn't, should Dawn be griping? Because she's not. I think her question was legitimate. If you want to say that, read between the lines, I'm not going to disagree. My thing is, and I don't know, you were probably still doing some post-tournament work. I don't know if you got to see the panel discussion of Carolina's draw on ESPN last night with Elle and Andrea and Charlie Cream and all of them.
Caught a little bit of
it. And Coach Peck and Rebecca. But anyway, they all basically agreed, man. Carolina should be hacked off. That's the biggest chip on the shoulder. And they all kind of felt the same way. I'm not here to make too much of it. When I say I don't care, that's why I had Elijah play that cut. Hey, you just got to go play the next basketball game. And sometimes we're splitting hairs here, whether we split hairs with the teams that have to go to a play-in round or we split hairs with the 1A and 1B top seeds in America. And to be fair, UCLA beat South Carolina. Hell, I'd have stopped right there if I were the committee. You know what? We came down to so many data points and blah, blah, this and whatever that and net rankings. And then we finally said, in the grand scheme, we keep doing this. One of you beat the other one, and that's where this thing landed. I wouldn't have said anything about the Connecticut game because, again, then you've got to tell me what the margin of loss should have looked like for you to reverse South Carolina and UCLA in terms of number 1 overall seed. I'd have left it alone. Privately in the room, since they don't give us access, you could have had it in there all you wanted.
And say, all right, we'll just tell people that UCLA beat South Carolina on the floor.
Yeah.
And then that would be accepted.
I think so.
That would be widely accepted.
I think so.
Disagreed upon, sure.
Yeah.
But widely accepted. Because if they're saying that's the main data point, they're taking one of many data points, right? And singling it down to one game in which neither team faced each other, which is kind of odd. But just looking at, the raw resume, South Carolina's got a higher net ranking. They're 2. UCLA is 4. UCLA is 4 in the net and got the number 1 overall seed. That's kind of rare.
Well, Connecticut's number 1 in the net and got a 2 seed.
Yeah. Also very rare.
Because they don't have any quad 1 wins except for South Carolina. They got a few, but they don't have.
Only 5 compared to South Carolina.
And look,
16.
Connecticut's doing well to live off that win in Columbia. And good on you, UConn. Again, they played and you whooped them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it has.
And they've whooped up on everybody else they've played.
Yeah.
That's not named Tennessee since the turn of the calendar.
One thing you and I talk about a lot, man, like we can talk about opinions of things, but the result is a fact.
Yes, that is a known fact. But even like if I'm Don, I'd be a little hacked off if the game that they met in Los Angeles in November was not the reason you're the 1 seed, but it is resume based. That seems like a flawed argument. South Carolina's higher in net ranking. They have 16 wins in quadrant 1 compared to UCLA's 13. They have a better average ranking of their wins. So the average team that South Carolina beat was ranked 63 in net. For UCLA, it is 85. Their average net loss for South Carolina is 2. And for UCLA, it is 6, solely because they lost number 6, Southern Cal, twice. And then if you want to play who had the best wins game, South Carolina has 2 wins against Texas, who is the 3rd team.
Yeah, you beat another 1 seed twice.
UCLA
by a combined how many points?
Oh my God.
Was it 15 and 19?
So yeah, I think yeah. So I mean that'd be a combined 44 points, averaging 22 points.
34, but I mean let me make sure of that.
34.
Let me make sure what the score was in Greenville.
Brutal. Burn the tape on that one.
Regardless.
But
no, keep going. I'm sorry.
Point. Yeah, but you get the point. And UCLA's obviously their best win is Southern Cal. I just looking up and UCLA obviously
and they were 1 and 2 against Southern Cal.
And, 1 and 2 had a losing record against Southern Cal. So I don't understand the rationale that if you are going to make UCLA the number 1 overall based off the totality of the resume, how you could put them over South Carolina. And if they if they just straight up said, "Hey, we use that data point, we think these resumes are comparable, but we wanted that to be the tiebreaker," I'm fine with it. I get it. I can't argue it because, like you said, what the result is fact.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's it's incredibly frustrating based off of the explanation they gave.
South Carolina, I'm looking right now. Hang on. I'm at 2. I'm looking to see. Yeah. And yes, it was a 19-point win over Texas. In wins, Elijah. Okay? In wins. And they have 30 of them.
It's a lot of wins.
Do you want to guess how many games South Carolina won the game by a single digit?
Ooh. Because they ended up beating Kentucky by double digits, didn't they? I would say 1, 2.
2.
Which one?
The opener?
Yeah,
against
opener.
Michigan, they won by 6, 68-62, and they won at Tennessee, a very good team, by 7. Every other win was by at least 10 points.
And that 7-point win against Tennessee, there's a lot of garbage time buckets. That game was over halfway through the 4th quarter.
South Carolina.
Going into it, I'd even say.
Now, South Carolina lost to UCLA by 15. And, we all remember watching that game. And UCLA's bigs they just dominated Carolina. Carolina had no answers.
Yep.
South Carolina lost to Texas by 4, to Connecticut by 29. So you had 2. When you got beat twice, you got beat.
Yeah, and the UConn game was a stinker.
But when you won, you won.
Running away.
So, again, I know we sound like we are indeed splitting those hairs, and maybe to some degree we are, but the bigger thing now is Dawn Staley, who y'all might have seen by now, is a little bit competitive. Just a little.
A smidge. I mean, maybe there might be a little bit of an edge to her.
Yeah, just a little bit. Now gets that little extra. This is like nitrous in the tank. That little. All right, here we go.
Like if you're racing Mario Kart and you hit one of those mushrooms and you go. Pew,
she gets that.
Speed up a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks, committee. That's what everybody else should be saying. Like, why didn't y'all just make him the number 1 so we didn't have to worry about all this crap?
Now you made Don mad.
Why'd you make Dawn mad? This is the Postgame Show. Talking postseason hoops here on the Postgame Show. Welcome back. Welcome back to Elijah Campbell, by the way, who did fantastic work
Back in town.
all week in Music City, USA.
Thank you, sir.
And I suppose, as you know, as long as everything goes well this weekend, you may be on the road again, huh?
Yeah, heading to Birmingham. I feel like we'll. I don't think the Tennessee Tech Mighty Golden Eagles.
Do you want to tell everybody about that real quick?
Yeah, the irony of the matchup. I about spit my drink out when I saw Tennessee Tech's name pop up because I'm like, would you look at this? It's the school that I cover for a living versus the school I flunked out in at age 19. We have really come full circle.
You know, when you sit in the media section, overt displays are forbidden. So do you have a plan to maybe like head upstairs and pretend you're just some fan and start yelling insults? Do you hold it against the school? Do you feel you should have been treated better? Is this a you thing only? And you're like, no. We can just agree to get along. How's that going to work?
So here's the thing. My vitriol towards the University of Tennessee Tech, or Tennessee Tech University,
Sure.
is more towards a one professor specifically.
Okay.
One. And I pushed it, but at the same time, leeway could have been given. Really just towards one individual. And I don't have, like, I guess, a personal grab. Like, Tennessee Tech is where my parents graduated.
Okay.
Like, my older sister went there for a little bit before transferring. My brother went there for a little bit before also transferring. A lot of good friends from high school, because it's in Cookeville, Tennessee, where I went to high school, graduated from Tennessee Tech and had fantastic experiences. I did not enjoy my time there.
Geographically speaking, if you will, because Tennessee is a very long, large
Not
geographic
tall, very
state.
long.
Yeah. Where is Cookeville, Tennessee?
Cookeville is about an hour and some change east of Nashville, right on 40.
So in between Knoxville and Nashville.
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually the halfway point between Knoxville and Nashville on 40.
Okay.
I will take a little bit of glee from.
And I'll be honest with you, the reason I've never driven. I know it's weird. I've never driven to Nashville. I've only flown into Nashville.
Well, if you drive on 40, you will drive straight through.
Yeah, I've been a little past 40 because I've been to Knoxville a bunch. Fine town.
Yeah, fine town.
Sunsphere still in downtown Knoxville?
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They do anything with it?
Not that I know of. Somebody uses it. I know it is, operational.
Yeah.
They didn't just like stop paying for the electricity there and the power goes
That was a good time, man. I remember being 12 years old going to that World's Fair. It was fun. It's probably not as fun if I was an adult or something, but I remember being dazzled
by the display.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My mom
cool.
was growing up in Knoxville when that was going on, so she
was fun, man.
took advantage of it. She
You know what hacked me off, though? I'll tell you something that sticks with me. So back then, it was like the beginning of the like massive just arcade craze for American youth. And hear me out. You could go to those little things. You stick a dollar bill in there and you get 4 quarters, right? Some places you got tokens, but you got 4 tokens for said dollar. At the World's Fair, you got 3.
Oh, come on.
I remember that. I remember thinking that we were getting gypped.
Because you were.
Well, and then that's like one of your first lessons. And like, no, when something like this is going on,
they pay for it somehow.
That's why you pay $10 for popcorn at a movie.
Yep. They got to make money somewhere.
So anyway,
still got a job.
All right. Well, let's we'll talk more about those games, but you're not pulling against Tennessee Tech.
I wouldn't say I'm pulling against Tennessee Tech, but I'm also saying I wouldn't be heartbroken to see South Carolina run it up.
Well, that's the thing. Like I told you,
it's a life symbolism thing for me.
I saw the young ladies on the Tennessee Tech team, like they were all excited, and I love that kind of stuff. And you've never been or whatever, and I think the school has been right. Maybe these
I think
this version.
I think
has
the
not.
school has been. I know the Tennessee Tech men haven't made it since '63. The last time they were there, they broke and now still hold the record for biggest blowout loss in the history of the tournament.
Oh,
lost by 60-plus points to Loyola Chicago, who went on to win the national title.
Oh, man, that's not.
Yeah, so Tennessee Tech University and their relationship with history in the NCAA tournament has been kind of an adversarial one.
But I did, I almost instantly, I felt good for them for a minute because they were all excited and smiling. And, right now, I've got college-age children, so I know that level of, and I then I was like, oh, and y'all are going to lose by 40.
Yeah. Oh, 40 might be a generous estimate.
Well, it might. I don't know.
Because you not only get South Carolina, you get a mad South Carolina.
You do now.
And what better way to show the committee they messed up than to beat some poor OVC school by 80.
If I'm Dawn, I don't unleash that monster just yet. Let's see.
Save it for either Utah or Indiana.
Well, I was going to say, all of a sudden, look, man.
Second round draw.
All of a sudden, right there, then you get two teams that have won combined 41 basketball games, and all of a sudden, that's a little bit different, even if it's in your gym. Speaking of in your gym, there will be no more Carolina men's basketball at CLA this season, and you may say to yourself, duh. But if you didn't hear, last week it became known, and quite honestly, I'd probably heard this at some point and totally forgotten about it for multiple reasons. But the Southeastern Conference and the Atlantic Coast Conference made a deal with the NCAA, who owns the NIT, that if, that they would get 2 automatic slots for the 2 best teams in their conference standings that didn't make the NCAA tournament. Now, you don't know then. You're thinking then this is going to be somebody like Texas. That's like at that, and there'd be a few other schools that are hovering between 18 and 22 wins, right? You don't predict that your 16-school league is going to have 14 schools make the big dance, and that the 2 teams left combined to win 5 conference basketball games.
Nope, didn't draw it up that way.
But that's what happened. So South Carolina and LSU were automatically qualified for the NIT. And if you have not yet heard, both of them have declined that automatic slot in the NIT. Chew on that for a minute. I basically said, you probably should have played. I'll give you some thoughts of what people said on Twitter. See what Elijah thinks, because he and I have not really discussed this too much as of yet. Should the Gamecocks have accepted an automatic bid because the rules allow it? We'll discuss on the other side. Welcome back. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock. Coming up next hour, we'll let you hear a little bit of what Coach Beamer had to say today as the Gamecocks open spring ball. And don't forget that Coach Paul Maneri will be live with Elijah and me coming up around 5:15. Elijah, real fast, ask me if Arsenal beat Chelsea yesterday.
Did Arsenal beat Chelsea?
Yes.
Someone's excited about that.
They sure did.
It's always a good day for
It was an
Gamecocks.
ugly 1-0, but you know what? I don't care.
It's a win, and it's a shutout.
That's right.
A clean sheet, as they call
A
it.
clean sheet.
The cleanest of sheets.
Sorry
There's not a spot on there.
to my Chelsea friends. But you know what?
Not really sorry. I was
Not
gonna say.
sorry
Yeah.
at all.
I wouldn't be sorry.
So here's what I said about Carolina turning down, and I'll give you all some further guidance and info on this. But I said last night, I don't understand why South Carolina would turn down the NIT, especially considering the SEC wanted and received a rule change allowing it. I know it was a bad season, but if the rules give you the opportunity, I believe you should take it. Now, look, I got a lot of views on this and like 55 different comments, and I'll read you what Coach Paris had to say in just a second, too. I called over there today. I called and talked to folks in the know on campus and just wanted some guidance. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not condemning Lamont and Jeremiah for turning this down. I do, as I say, I understand I get all the dynamics. My point is simply that this is college athletics. These are young people who get a limited time. I mean, you got one dude going to the NBA. There might be some. I don't know if there's anybody else that's really going to go to the NBA on this team. I don't know. And a couple of them are probably going to play basketball at another level, perhaps in Europe or something like that. I could see Morris, and going back over when he gets a little bigger and stronger and older, and go play somewhere in Europe if he wants to go back.
There'll be a spot for somebody.
Yeah. But I mean, look, and I know you're 12-20 and 2-16. I again, none of that is lost on me.
We lived it.
But I told you that I was going to say this. John Calipari last week in his post game it struck a chord with me in a good way, and I think he meant it. Said, "Hey, if this version of I'm paraphrasing, but he said if this version of South Carolina was in another conference as constructed, you'd be talking about something very, very different. They ran into a buzzsaw of a league, and they did not, as you and I talked about a lot, Elijah, they did not have the horses to run this year's race. They just didn't. And in any race, somebody finishes last. And sadly, this time it was South Carolina after what was one of the more surprising and enjoyable seasons that program has had in quite some time. So to follow it up with this was a complete downer. I totally get it. But I'd have liked to have seen them gone and kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, live up to a little bit of what Coach Cal said. Mm-hmm. Or some of the things that Lamont has said on how close they were, and just try to leave some positive taste in people's mouths, even if Colin doesn't play. Mm-hmm. Like a bowl game holdout or something. That's cool. Right. I want him to go do what he's going to go do. And he hasn't made his decision yet, but that's beside the point. So that's all. Am I here going, I can't believe it? No, I can easily believe it. But the rules allowed for it. I would just take advantage of the rule. I understand why they didn't. So what I was told today, while I get it, I still don't necessarily agree with it. I would have taken my team and I would have gone and played. That's all.
I can't believe this is a sentence I'm going to say publicly because I know I'm going to sound like my dad. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I would have loved to have seen them end the year strong because they could have made a run. I mean, so many teams declined, invitations to this that it's very this whole event would have been incredibly winnable. I would have loved to have seen extra reps for guys that are going to come back next year. I think that's the most valuable thing about it. Like if I, love your basketball teams to love playing basketball, and I understand why they haven't loved playing basketball this year because it was a really tough year. But I love the teams that are upset by not making the NCAA tournament and are still incredibly excited to play in the NIT because it's basketball.
Yeah,
you love playing you only get in a player's career, you only get so many games.
And that was my point. This is a limited opportunity. You don't play 82 a year for however many years. Here's what Lamont said. This came out last night. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the NIT and the exciting opportunity it provides good teams to continue playing for a championship. Unfortunately, due to some attrition on our roster with injuries, we decided it was best not to participate this year. This year we competed in one of the best conferences in college basketball history. While we did not reach our goal of making the NCAA tournament, I am, however, extremely proud of the effort and determination our guys played with all season. Sincere thanks to our dedicated fan base for its outstanding support of our guys. We will build on that and start our work immediately as we look to make a return to the NCAA tournament in 2026. So I get it. And it's not lost on me that something that's a printed statement, you know, it provides good teams to continue playing.
Yeah, it comes across written different than it would be spoken.
Yeah, I think so. So, again, I get it. I'll share some of what y'all had to say about it. We'll talk a lot of football next hour as Shane Beamer has spoken ahead of spring ball. It's the postgame show. The excitement of the basketball tournament is finally here on the men's and women's side of things. Soon enough, it'll be time for the start of the professional baseball season and whatever else it is that you like to watch. All right, maybe it's time to take a little break from some of these things, start watching your favorite streaming shows. Do all of it better than ever through my good friends at Integrated Media. Starting a home theater system from the ground up, they're ready to help you out. Love the setup you have at your house or all around the house, but you want today's best equipment. Whether it's TVs, speakers, etc., Integrated Media can come in and enhance what you already have. Enjoy the beautiful weather out on the patio, around the pool, with something that's built to be out there. Yes, outdoor home theater that looks and sounds like indoor home theater can be yours, all right? And it's meant to live outside all the time. And Wi-Fi that works everywhere for better gaming, streaming, working from home. 803-948-8327. The best in home theater is Integrated Media. 4 o'clock on this Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Elijah Campbell is back. He's right over there because I can see him. Yours truly, Jay Phillips, here. I'm wearing my, I don't even know how old this is.
It looks very old.
It's old. I'm wearing an Ireland national team jersey, soccer jersey. I wore this on Saturday as well, so, but I didn't spill any beer on it as far as you know.
I mean, as far as you know, you might have spilled some.
Well, that's true. It's true. I did get back home, though.
See, sometimes the spills that you don't notice might be the worst. On what? So last Sunday, for the SEC Women's Championship in Greenville.
Yeah.
You know, I wore a nice white shirt, one of my favorites.
Good.
Didn't realize till I got back in the truck and looked down that there was a coffee stain on it.
Oh, no. On a white shirt.
Ill.
Man.
I felt ill.
Did you get it cleaned out? It's good?
Yes.
As far as we know?
As far as we know.
All right. We had a good time Saturday, thanks to the hospitality of the one and only Brian Glenn, the Godfather,
The man.
for having us over at Village Idiot for a little bit. Saw my buddy Jason Snyder. I got to see Lettuce.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the Queen tribute. Mr. Fahrenheit? Does that sound right? Saw the Queen tribute band. They were fun.
A Queen tribute band does.
It was fun. It was good. You know, it was good.
A Queen tribute band's like one of those things, like if you can afford to do it, having them perform at your birthday party is probably a blast.
Yeah. I don't know any of their names. I mean, listen, Queen had such great music. You can't, and the guy, I promise you, the dude wasn't up there trying to be Freddie. I mean, he could sing. So, you know, but the guy playing guitar had that Brian May sound, so that was pretty good because that's a very unique, you know, Brian May really came up with that sound that he had.
Did he have the Brian May hair?
No.
That's
I was kind of far away, so I don't know. I was just listening.
If not, it's a missed opportunity.
But it was a beautiful day in 5 Points. Perfect. A Chamber of Commerce. And I did actually see our esteemed mayor, Daniel Rickenman, and his lovely wife, Laura, and many of our friends we saw down there. So the mayor ordered up perfect weather. Good for him.
That's great. Yeah, I was seeing pictures of it and videos on Instagram and whatnot, and I was instantly jealous because we were under severe weather threat the entire day.
Well, you could have come home.
Oh, so I can drive in it. Yeah, so I should drive in it is what you're saying. You're saying I should drive in the direction of a potentially active tornado.
You should have just left Friday.
Yeah, next time, I'm going to do it. Next time I'm in a building, it says, hey, severe tornado warning, you know, or tornado watch in your area.
Yeah.
I want to be like, all right, you know what? I got to
Which direction was it from Nashville?
Oh, it was south. So, yeah, I would have driven right.
All right, so what you should have done, that you could have, like, driven up to Kentucky and then, like, over into West Virginia and down into Maryland and then come down that way, and you'd have just avoided it all, man.
Or what I could have done is just drive on the road. Might not be a lot of people out in the middle of a tornado. Understandable. I just zigzag across the road. That way the tornado has to hit a moving target. Yeah. And a lot harder to hit a moving target.
You seen Wizard of Oz? If you do it right, you know what happens? You get to go to a whole other world, man, filled with brilliant colors and talking animals. It's great.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly where I want to go. And I'm sure that panned out very well for the main characters in that movie.
Most of them. One of them seemed to. She died. Oh.
Spoiler. Wow. Way to go. Sorry. I bet there were dozens of people listening to this that were like, I've always wanted to watch Wizard of Oz. And now you've got it spoiled for you. So I'm sorry. On behalf of Jay Phillips, I apologize.
Well, how old? Wizard of Oz now, let's see, 19, it's like 80-something years old. So you probably should have seen it by now.
Hey, maybe some people don't have it on their streaming service. You never know.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there.
There is. There are people that have not seen Wizard of Oz.
That might be like the movie, though, that I think everybody watches as a child.
Fun fact.
And catches it.
I always tell people, I don't know why I say always, but so the director of that movie was a man named Victor Fleming. He directed 2 films in 1939. Do you know what the other one was? Gone with the Wind.
I would say he had a really good year.
That's it. I hung it up, man.
I mean, considering I couldn't name you the director of either of those movies until you mentioned right here, maybe he did hang it up after that.
Victor Fleming. Why do I know these things? I don't know. That's just how my mind works.
Not many people in the year 1939 had such a good year they could just hang it up.
Speaking of hanging it up, the Gamecock men's basketball team did. I want to listen. I can't get to all these, but I really do. In all sincerity, I appreciate all of you who hit me. I got a lot of replies on this, and they're very mixed. I'll try to give you a couple here that I think maybe fit the mold. Lake says, wouldn't have enough bodies. Also, why practice for guys you likely aren't keeping around? I know I don't want to keep the older guys from a 12-win team. Let's see. Let me get another one that was more on the other side of it. I had a couple of good ones in here. Dion says, don't know who or what drove this decision, but it's a really bad look. Hard to ask fans to support a team that quits on their season no matter how bad it went. Players should want to play no matter the circumstances. This just looks bad. Tyler says, absolutely not a great decision. Ed says, the NIT is irrelevant. In days gone by, if you had a very young team, the NIT might serve well to get experience. Nowadays, there is no such thing. It is rent the best team you can from year to year. Even in the past, Odom won it twice. It got USC nowhere. Our buddy Esau, Eric Sullivan, said it's over, Jay. I always want them to play postseason too, but I'd rather not see them go for a short NIT stint. Too many close games this year's. Fellas are mentally drained. Regroup, hit the portal, and start on next year. And then Quincy says they absolutely should have played. He says players come for the opportunity to play, compete, and represent USC. So here is another opportunity. This notion to just pack it in for the regular bowl games of the NIT needs to fade. How do we get excited about Wofford but not a bowl game? Those are just some representative ones. There's more. A couple of people said, that again, talking about Lamont saying, hey, player attrition. We may never know the full truth. And again, I'm not here to say, like, just how dare you, Lamont Paris and Jeremiah Donati? How dare you turn down the NIT? I'm not at all doing that. I'm just, again, part of what my job is to give my opinion on this. And as I say, you were given the opportunity. This, to me, Elijah, is like when a 5-7 team goes to a bowl game. Do they deserve it, air quotes? No.
Based off of historical criteria. No.
But there are rules in place that allow, in certain seasons, I mean, if there's a need, allow 5-7 teams to go to a bowl because they've already sanctioned the bowls, and some years there just aren't enough 6-win teams. Now, are there too many bowls? That's another story. Does anybody care about some of these bowls? That's another story. The fact is they put them on and they have them. And that's the point I'm making here. Look, I totally get it. I totally get why they're not going. And I really am not faulting them for it. I'm just saying I would have made a different decision. I would have continued in college athletics if given the opportunity. And the opportunity deserve, I could probably paint a gray area with. Mm-hmm. Because, again, your conference negotiated an opportunity. It wasn't supposed to be this. So I get it. But I saw last year like 17 schools turn down the NIT. You know what this is? You know what the bigger problem is? It's just it's time for the NIT to go away. Who really wants to go to the NIT anymore?
Well, and there are plenty of teams that do. The NIT just shut them out.
Yeah.
That's what makes me mad.
And now we have this, what's it called? Hang on. College Basketball Crown. Yeah.
Like the thing about the NIT is there are plenty of schools. There are 364 Division I schools that play basketball. Only 68 get into the NCAA tournament. Some of them still want to play. The reason why some of these heartbreaking losses are so bad in these conference tournaments is because some of them, those players, will have the realization that they're never going to play basketball again for those schools, or maybe even in their careers.
Ever.
Those schools want to be a part of the NIT. South Alabama lost their conference championship game, or they lost the conference semifinal. Heartbreaking fashion to Troy, who went on to win the Sun Belt. they wanted to continue playing basketball. Well, the NIT erroneously put, I forgot which school. I think it's UC Irvine, because UC Irvine also was in the CBI bracket, which is another postseason tournament.
Ugh.
They were in two different brackets.
That's our boy.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, from Seattle, Freebird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, I didn't get a name so we can tell people to look him up. It's a sight to see.
But what do we say now? I forgot that he's the drummer for who? He's in a somebody cover band.
Leonard Skinner cover band. But there was like a mix-up where UC Irvine was on two different brackets, and it caused confusion. The NIT thought they had a spot, and they called South Alabama, gave them an invitation. South Alabama accepted, only to have to call back 30 minutes later and say, hey, I'm sorry, that's UC Irvine's spot.
No.
We have to give it to them. We don't have a spot for you. And those kids were heartbroken. Richie Riley, the coach for South Alabama, went on Twitter and eviscerated the NIT.
Good.
NIT and Dan Gavitt released a statement on their Twitter, and he quote tweeted it and just set them ablaze. You can't tell me the NIT doesn't mean anything for South Alabama. The NIT still means something to smaller schools. It means a whole lot. It's an awesome opportunity. But what did the NIT want to do instead? Give auto bids to teams that don't give a rat's about it.
Right.
And that's what's so infuriating. You're trying to be something they're not. And if you're not the NCAA tournament, you're not going to be a tournament that's going to get remotely close. And that's okay if you're asking the right people to come to your party. Like, I can't throw a party at my apartment tonight and say, yep, only millionaires allowed, and then be upset when none of them wants to join, but other people who wanted to hang out with me get kicked to the curb.
I am under the impression that the NIT got word from Carolina and LSU in a relatively quick fashion that they would not be going.
Yeah.
So I don't know that the folks wherever I guess they also do this in Indy. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, the NCAA runs it, so that they probably, I guess they knew by. I didn't get a hard time on it, obviously, but I was told they needed to know, and so I think mid-afternoon, early afternoon, I think they probably had an idea. And one of the things too, and Terry asked me this earlier. I'll ask you. You know, did the NIT even call whomever earlier in the week? Hey, y'all aren't coming, are you? Like, you probably shouldn't. I mean, I'd like to know how that part of it went. Like, did the NIT want LSU in South Carolina with those bad losing records?
I think they wanted the brands because this is what the NCAA is trying to turn the NIT into a money-making machine.
Yeah.
It's not that. They're trying to, again, turning it into something that it's not. I'm sure they were bummed out when they didn't get any SEC teams in, because you know what South Carolina fans and LSU fans still would have done if their teams were in the NIT? Watched.
Yeah, they would.
They still would have watched.
I mean, tons no.
Tons no.
But some, but more, again, if you're a fan, you're a fan. And that's also part of it. That goes to, the one from Quincy there, you want to support your team. And again, look, I get some of you could not, like one guy said, because we have a shred of self-respect that they're not going. But then the guy next to him here, loser mentality. All right. Those are more extreme.
Yeah.
Perhaps on both sides. It's not a loser mentality. I get it. And I thought the guy that said, you're just kind of renting a program these days, I suppose to some degree that's part of it too. I don't know. But I appreciate all of you that hit us. I do. I did not expect this kind of reaction over a 12-win team not going to the NIT. I'm glad we got it.
Yeah. And
I'll do it again when necessary. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's postseason.
Yeah, and people do. And I'll tell you this, and I'm dead serious, y'all, and then we'll move on to talk some football. This is proof in whatever manner, all right, just for my little corner of the world and what we do here, this is proof of how much people care. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of response over a 12-win team not going to the NIT. When it could have been shoulder shruggy guy or something like that, or just better yet, not do anything. So good on you that there's, that level of care now on to next season. Shane Beamer spoke today. I'll let you hear some of what he had to say coming up. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union ready to help you with any and all of your banking needs as we turn the corner here now into the home stretch of the winter and into the spring. You do spring cleaning for the house. Maybe time to do a little spring cleaning financially as well. How about some incentives to save money over the next few months or the next few years? They've got a lot of great programs at Palmetto Citizens that do just that. Log on to palmettocitizens.org, and when you look at how you can find different incentives to save, you can say, wow, all right, they're going to charge me less money to keep my money with them and reward me when I hit certain goals. That sounds pretty good, especially perhaps for those young savers in your life, if you know what I mean. So whatever it might be, checking, savings, credit cards, car loans, student loans, home loans, equity lines of credit, anything you need when it comes to banking, do it better with Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Join my wife and me as members. We love them. Check them out online right now. Learn more. palmettocitizens.org. Minutes after 4 o'clock on this Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Hope a lot of you had fun if you celebrate on Saturday. Again, perfect day. Lots of great music. Cold beer. I had a beer.
Or two.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do Saturday? I guess you had a couple of basketball games to watch.
Yeah.
How'd you get done Saturday?
Saturday was a lot easier. I mean, I got done. Last game ended around around 6 after going to the press conferences and talking to folks. I was probably out of there by like 7:30.
Oh, wow. So you probably had a good time.
7:30 Central, yeah.
Yeah.
And then went back. I did about 45 minutes on our YouTube page.
Look at you.
Breaking it down, yeah.
Then you went out, I hope.
Oh, I didn't go out. I was too tired. There was not a lot of going out. If by staying inside and playing board games with my friend Matt and my brother and his girlfriend, then we went out. But your boy was way too tired. Your boy wanted to get in some sweatpants and chill.
All right.
I especially after that Thursday
after
night.
3 days of 4 games, I can only imagine.
And that Thursday night where Texas and Texas A&M going to double overtime really butchered the schedule.
Sure.
The game, mind you, the game between Oklahoma and Kentucky did not end until about 12:30 Central Time. I did not leave that arena until about 1:25 Central Time. I did not get back to where I was staying until about 2 Central Time. I didn't get on air on YouTube till about 3:15 Central Time. And I get done and I close my laptop and everything. I'm like, oh, I got a radio hit in 3 hours. Better take a nap.
At that point, I'm just texting Gunner and going, "You're on your own, bro."
Use AI to recreate my voice.
That's right, yes.
And give analysis.
Just make something up. Just say you talked to me and it was a good night. Just leave it at that.
It was good.
Shane Beamer spoke today. First off, again, not a ton of news, but some. But let's start with we'll just go in order here, Elijah. Cut number 1 here. This is Shane on some guys that will not be available this spring.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask it, David, so I literally just walked out of the staff meeting and I had the injury report and I was going to bring it down here, and of course I forgot it as well. Michael Smith will not go through spring practice at tight end. Caleb Williams will not go through spring practice on the defensive line. Ryan Brubaker will not go through spring practice on the offensive line, and Damala, our freshman offensive lineman on the offensive line, will not go through spring practice. So unfortunately, the 4 guys are out for spring with some injury things that we wanted to go ahead and get done now so they'd be ready to go for the season, and they both will be optimistic that they all will be optimistic that maybe a couple guys will be able to do a little bit more towards the end of spring practice, but right now they won't start with us, and we'll see how it goes as we go through the spring. But other than that, everybody's in good shape.
Again, through spring, so how serious for any of these guys, not sure. How big a deal is it? I don't know. I mean, Shane may have more to say about exactly what that looks like. And like I said, I'm not. I think, look, Caleb Williams is, I think, going to get some time. But I think Michael Smith is going to be a big cog in that offensive machine.
I think so, too.
I do.
I mean, he played a solid role for a true freshman last year in a position that is very important to this offense. And I think we can all safely assume the offense isn't going to change dramatically with Mike Shula as the OC.
Right.
So it would be beneficial for him to play in spring if he's healthy. But
I really feel you push back here if you want to. I really feel, despite him never having coordinated any side of the ball, offense or defense, this offense really has a lot of Shane. This is now sort of a Shane Beamer offense. Whether, whoever's run it, this is what he wants. He wants it to be tight end heavy. He wants a quarterback with some wheels. I know Spencer wouldn't necessarily have been that, but when you get an opportunity to go get a guy who's now likely to be a starter in the NFL, you take that opportunity and you tweak accordingly.
You figure it out.
And they did. But I and some big uns up front. I mean, everybody wants that, obviously, but I do feel like he'll give the coordinator the keys, but this is what I want you to do, by and large. So I think that the identity of this program continues to evolve positively with what Shane wants, but it's going to be tight end heavy. I did a hit with our buddy Chuck Oliver this morning, and I told him that very thing. He was asking me about pass catchers and stuff and where Nick Harbor is, and what I said to him was, look, I don't know who I kind of did the blend that you and I did last year. Who's the top wide receiver with WR next to them, and who's the top pass catcher because it might not be a WR. Last year it was Josh Simon. And it could be Mazio this year. It could be Nick this year. Jared could step up and do. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here for predictions. But if you said, is the likelihood of a tight end being the top pass catcher there again? Yeah. I think it could be. I think Michael could do it. Brady. But I think Michael showed enough promise. And I think Lenoris showed us enough about what he likes in how that works with where a tight end gets open to say that this offense is going to be, heavily reliant, which I think, again, to the tight end guy of years gone by, like, we don't hear from that guy anymore.
He's in hog heaven right now.
Right, yeah.
And to that guy, too, I mean, if you just want to even use past examples of some of Mike Shula's best offenses, that 2015 Panthers team that went 15-1, you know who their most reliable pass catcher was?
Olsen?
It's Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
He was a tight end.
Yeah. And a good one.
I think we're going to see some similarities between the 2025 Gamecocks offense and the 2015 Panthers offense.
I got time for that. Yeah, I got time for one more here before we'll hear more from Shane throughout. But let me get one more here. Rasul Faison coming in from Utah State, 1,100 and something yards last year. But is there a question of his availability?
Yeah, we're optimistic on everything. Is that 1,000% solidified right now? No, we're very optimistic that we'll get some good news here soon.
So there you go. He's here under the I went to junior college first and I'd like to keep playing rule thing that they did for Diego Pavia. Again, I don't know. This isn't a question for, I don't know what the holdup is.
Because it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, especially since, because the NCAA, I know, released something kind of tweaking eligibility rules for junior college guys that played during the COVID year. And that was kind of the big thing, is that Diego Pavia said, hey, I played JUCO during COVID when everybody else in America got a free year of eligibility, but mine didn't count. Or mine did count when nobody else did. Which should be, that's why the holdup is confusing. It's not like this is like ancient information that you have to, dig through an archaeological spot to find, some tablet that's got somebody's plays or whatever. No, you can just open up your laptop and say, yep, he played in junior college in the year of the COVID.
It does
COVID
feel
season.
like perhaps the NCAA, like you're referencing maybe like the Rosetta Stone, like where they just can't find anybody to read the Latin, the Greek, or the hieroglyphics.
They can't decipher it.
Right.
We don't know if this junior college year was a COVID year or not.
Again, I'm not here to just up or down. Let's go. Again, what are we looking at?
What's the holdup?
Yeah, what's the holdup? I mean, Diego sued. Well, not sued. Well, I guess he did sue. Yeah, he did sue. And then what was that? December?
I think so.
Like before their bowl, right?
Late March.
Well, again, sometimes glacial pace is fast for the NCAA. More from what Coach Beamer had to say today as we look ahead to spring ball pro day tomorrow as well. You're listening to the Postgame Show. I got to see my good friend Ben Cato and Matt Stedman, the crew at Cato's on Friday, and the new equipment that I've been excited to get. I now have brand new blower, Toro, brand new pole saw from Toro, battery powered. The battery's a hoss too, man. But let me tell you, these things are amazing. This is commercial grade stuff, but it's made for a guy like me to use around the house. Listen, if you are somebody commercial, you could do it. You might need to get a couple of batteries because, you can't do it all day long, right? But if you're somebody who likes to work around the house, but you want to be more efficient, you want to get it done better, listen, I told Elijah, it's like going to the toy store for a guy like me who likes to do yard work. Get into Cato's. Beautifully remodeled showroom. So many great new things. Whether you do it for yourself, whether you do it for a living, the pros at Cato's will get you into the right equipment this spring. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, CatosPowerEquipment.com.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Bluff Road at Highway 48 near Idlewild Boulevard, 2 on Highway 1 at Augusta Road, one's near Oak Drive, the other between Arcadia Lakes Drive and Parkland Road and Decker Boulevard, 1 on I-20 eastbound at I-26 near Exit 64, 26 westbound at St. Andrews Road near Exit 106, US 321 at Dixiana Road, and on US 378 at Lower Richland Boulevard.
Talking Shane Beamer's pre-spring press conference. Coach delivering that today around 12:30 down at the facility. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. We carried that for you live a little bit earlier, but if you missed it, Elijah and I replaying some of that. Thanks to the one and only Tyler Head for helping us cut all this up too.
The Tyler Head of the Tyler Head Sports Experience.
The Sports Experience. So appreciate him. Cut number 6, please, Elijah Campbell. This is Shane Beamer on after a solid season, very solid season. What's the biggest thing you need to focus on?
Yeah, I think before you get into like personnel, it's making sure that all of our players, whether it's returning players or whether it's new players, they understand that 2024 didn't just happen. Like there was a lot of work that went into the 2024 season on and off the field. So understanding that we got to be even that much more intentional in 2025 to have the year that we all want to have. And then really it's just, there's just so many so many new faces. We lost a lot of veteran guys, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And they were all down in the training room before I walked out on the field a little bit ago. And you're just reminded like how many guys that have played a lot of football. Tonka was down there and Rashawn was down there and Rocket Sanders is down there and Bam Scott. I mean, that's a lot of guys that have been here for a while that are now gone. And we're talented. There's no question about it, but we're young and we have to develop leadership and we have to develop, who's this rotation? What's this rotation going to look like? It's exciting because there's so many competitive battles going on at a lot of different positions. David brought up the specialist, but you could say that about every position on our offense and defense. There's multiple battles going on for roles, and that's what I'm excited to see as we get out there.
Again, I told you I did a hit with our buddy Chuck Oliver over in Atlanta this morning, and as I was just prepping a little bit for, I knew some of the things that Shane was going to talk about today, and I kind of had an idea of what Chuck would be asking Elijah. But as I was just kind of going back over the new roster, there's no depth chart, obviously, but just the spring roster, I was especially, I suppose I probably shouldn't use this verb, but I will, encouraged by the depth on the offensive line. I think it's really good, man. And when you think about guys like Baugh and Babalade, who got thrown into the fire a couple, and Marky Anderson didn't play last year, and Ja'Kai Moore is back, and Josiah Thompson was a starter as a freshman, and I could go on with a few other positions there. But a lot of people have said, I'm not telling you it's going to be the best offensive line in the Southeastern Conference because Georgia still exists, and Texas still exists, and Alabama still exists. But at the same time,
doesn't have to be the best.
No, and I think back to 2 years ago when you went, 12 or 13 deep on the offensive line and had, again, Tree and Tro had to play, and I'm not dogging them, man. Like, I think they held their own as best they could. Josiah is the more rare bird, right?
Where you can start him right away at a position like left tackle.
Yeah. And you know what? I know this is crazy. You go back, I don't know. I'd have to go back and Orlando Pace probably started as a freshman, right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
And UCLA, another. I know y'all are all screaming his name at me back in that era too.
Oh yeah, Kevin Love.
No.
He was a center.
Man. Anyway. Look, it's rare, but I kind of kid when I ask this, but like, would Tom Osborne have let Josiah Thompson start as a freshman on the offensive line? Like, no. But the point is, I come back around now to be serious again. You've built. I'm sorry, I've got the UCLA thing. Oh God,
that's gonna bother me.
It is now, man. And I know again, y'all quit screaming at me because it's hurting my head. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, you've got quality depth. And you've got experienced quality depth. And the fact that you have allowed Tree and Tro last year to supplement what you do. And thank goodness that whatever it was that bit you 2 years ago didn't bite you last year, right? And maybe you figured some things out from a training perspective that accounted for some of that. But again, just looking at the bodies, I think they should feel very good about that. And how that manifests itself across the offense, I think is going to be, and that's just one section of it. But to Shane's point about a lot of hard work that's gone in. Look, 23. That was tough, But whether you want to call it reasons or excuses, it happened. I look at it as reasons. I mean, you can't predict and plan for, again, going 12 or 13 deep on the offensive line.
Not total evisceration of your line.
Yeah. So, but again, maybe I'm dead wrong in terms of how they continue to develop, but I don't think so. I look at who's played meaningful minutes, who, and who's ready to take the next step, and I think they've got bodies, man.
And this is even before adding somebody like Cam Pringle in the mix, who redshirted last year, got to sit behind all these guys, get, acclimated to the college game, develop a little bit. And now if you need him, that's a guy that's insanely talented to be able to throw in that mix as well, along with a couple of transfers. Like, you're not building the entire offensive line through the transfer portal, which can be a dangerous game. But they used it to supplement it and give it extra, experience and versatility. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And you're thinking of our boy Craig on our YouTube stream says Anthony Munoz. Is that who you're thinking?
No, he went to Southern Cal. Pretty sure. No, I'll get it. I'll get it during the break. Now UCLA, big dude, 90s. Now I'm pretty sure Munoz. I'm pretty sure Munoz was a Southern Cal guy.
You think so?
I think so. You want to check that out real quick?
Yeah, we're gonna fact check that. Usually, I'm really good at the where did he play game.
Why can't I remember this guy's name?
But I'm a lot better at it with if I was alive for their tenure. Yep, he was a Southern Cal player.
Yeah.
The search continues.
No, when I say it, everybody's going to go, oh, yeah. Jeff Ogden.
Jeff? Oh, nice.
And Jonathan Ogden. Jonathan Ogden. Yeah. Jonathan Ogden's the big. Jeff was good. Jonathan Ogden.
Jonathan Ogden was a dude.
That's who I'm thinking of. Jonathan Ogden.
Played a long time in the league, too.
He probably started as a freshman. That's the point I was trying to make. I'm not saying Josiah Thompson is going to be Orlando Pace or Jonathan Ogden.
Well, that's what I got from it.
But Jonathan Ogden was in my head.
I got my notes now. Yeah.
Jonathan Ogden was in my head.
Josiah Thompson is Jonathan Ogden.
Well, if he,
it's written down. It's written down.
You know what, man?
It's a quote.
Hey, Josiah, if you become 80% of Jonathan Ogden or Orlando Pace, my man, you will have 6 houses, 2 boats, however many cars you want.
Yeah.
So you'll be all right, man.
You'll be taken care of.
You'll be all right. All right, more from Shane. I'm glad we got that figured out.
That's what it killed.
A lot of names in my life, man. What's your name? We'll find out during the break. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our second hour coming up. Top of the hour, headlines of the day, including a big win down in Ponte Vedra for one of the world's most famous golfers. And at 5:15, Coach Paul Maneri will join Elijah and me. Difficult loss yesterday in extra innings.
Yeah, that's one of those games. The manner in which you lost is worse than the fact that you did lose.
That's what I'm not going to beat him up over it, right? But how do you help the guys through one where they know that's on them? That's on, because it was. And he knows that. He's seen a lot of baseball games. There are times when you get beat, and there are times when yesterday was
not fun.
No. Before I tell you who said this, I'm going to read a couple of quotes, but this just came down across the wire services. This is a current college football coach. And before I start reading, I'll just remind you all, yours truly, big proponent of a spring game against someone else, preferably perhaps one of the SCF schools in your state, and take them off the fall calendar. But we'll see. Here's a current, and it's not Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer did not say this today, but somebody did. Quote, I would actually like to play the spring game against another team in the spring. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I would like to style it like the pros. I'd like to go against someone for a few days, and then you have the spring game. I think the public would be satisfied with that tremendously. I think it's a tremendous idea. I've told those personnel who should understand that it's a tremendous idea. The way the trend is going, you never know if this is going to be the last spring game. Now, I don't believe in that. I don't want to condone that. To have it competitive, to play against your own guys, it can get kind of monotonous, and you really can't tell the level of your guys. Amen. Deion Sanders and the University of Colorado football program. I am so here for that.
Preaching to the choir.
Thank you. Crank this music up. I'm about ready to start swaying, man.
You're like minutes away from speaking in tongues right now.
Will this help? I know. Go get me a snake.
We'll see how much in God's favor you are now.
Again, let's do this. Let's do this.
That would be awesome.
You know what would be awesome?
And make it like a real game.
I am serious right now.
Or an open joint practice.
You know what I now want to see? I want to see Shane and Deion have a spring game.
Ooh,
let's
Carolina,
do it. Carolina, Colorado spring game. Let's do it.
That would be a lot of fun. Let's get the people going. That'd pack out that stadium.
Dude, let's do it.
For a spring game?
Yeah.
That's the best way you can pack out a stadium
and again,
for a spring game.
Before some of you go, oh my God, everybody will get hurt. No, they won't. And here's another thing. You put parameters in place in a spring game. You put the quarterback in that yellow jersey.
No touching the quarterback.
No touching the quarterback. No blocking the punt. But you can get a better idea. And yes, you can hit guys a little bit. They're going to hit each other in the spring game.
Mm-hmm. Tackling happens in those.
Yeah. And it's football. I mean, either way. And, this whole notion in all seriousness, Matt Rule, I don't want guys in our spring game on TV, and then they go in the portal and get poached. So you're going to have a combine instead, which is what he's doing.
Which I'm sure opposing teams that actually maybe in the slightest off chance would have been scouting your spring game would be more inclined to scout that.
Yeah. What do you think the scouts do with the combine, Matt?
They're checking out, 3-cone drill times and 40 times.
That just reminded me, have you seen the Undercover Boss, the fake one with Adam Driver being Kylo Ren?
Oh, it's hilarious. It's so funny.
And was her name Leslie? And she's like, Matt, I hadn't had my muffin yet, Matt. She's like dogging on him. No, way to go, Deion, man. Yes, Coach. Yes, Coach Prime. Yes, Coach Beamer. Yes to Furman and SC State and Wofford and Elon and Mercer and Valdosta State, all getting a paycheck to go play somebody in the spring. Yes, and whatever schools fit that bill out west. Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Let's do this. What are we afraid of? I watched a guy break his arm at a Carolina spring game. I'm not hoping for it. It's football, man.
Stuff happens.
Either play flag football or don't do it at all. But Matt Rule's combine isn't going to change the fact that some of his dudes are pretty good at football. You are still a Big Ten school, Matt.
Other coaches have info on your players, Matt. Right. They also recruited them before you, Matt.
They're just going to start doing that. Headlines of the day, Coach Maneri, drive around the SEC and more. Coming up. First, let me tell you about the 107.5 The Game Spring Golf Classic this year in partnership with the Lexington County Gamecock Club. It'll be Friday the 28th of this month over at beautiful Charwood. You can call Charwood right now and secure your foursome, 803-755-2000. They have the par 5 golf ball cannon. I don't know what that is. It sounds like something that Gunner came up with after one too many failures at golf, but I could be wrong.
A cheat code.
I could be wrong, but I'm probably not.
It sounds like something that will be aimed at one of us.
I'm just going to aim it back at Gunner.
Two of them?
Yeah, we'll be giving away baseball and football tickets to 2 lucky winners, and Alex English is going to hang out. Don't shoot that golf ball cannon at him, man.
He doesn't need the cannon.
He's a treasure. I bet he's good. Long arms, swing through.
Has to.
Call him up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways. Starting with an accident on Bluff Road near Highway 48 near Idlewild Boulevard. Got one on Bower Parkway near Piney Grove Road. Highway 1 at Augusta Road between Arcadia Lakes Drive and Parkland Road. One on I-26 westbound at St. Andrews Road near Exit 106. And on US 378 near I-77, we also have reports of just stopped traffic on 26 westbound between Augusta Road near Exit 111 and St. Andrews Road.
And it is 5 o'clock news time on this Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all who celebrate, and welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We start with South Carolina women's basketball. Dawn Staley's team, not the number one overall seed at the NCAA tournament this year, but they are a 1 seed in the Birmingham 2 regional. And South Carolina will, of course, host the opening weekend. They will have Tennessee Tech. That game will tip Friday right around 4 o'clock. And they will take on the winner of the 8-9 game between Utah and Indiana. I say Carolina will take the winner of the Carolina-Tennessee Tech game will take on the winner of Utah-Indiana.
Very kind of you to
well,
offer
I'm not
Tennessee
going
Tech that courtesy.
I know, but South Carolina is a heavy favorite in that game. A lot of folks around the country, including some on the national panel last night, Elle Duncan and the crew at ESPN, including their own bracketologist for the women's side, Charlie Cream, felt that South Carolina was indeed going to be the number 1 overall seed in this tournament. Instead, it was UCLA. Here is committee chair Dorita Dawkins on why it was the Bruins, not the Gamecocks.
Well, there were 2 key factors between UCLA and South Carolina. One was the head-to-head matchup, and the other was one of our criteria, which is competitive in losses, and South Carolina suffered a 29-point loss to UConn. So those are those are the 2 key differences in those resumes.
No word from Ms. Dawkins in the committee on what the line was to consider the loss non-competitive. Nor looking at the fact that 28 of South Carolina's 30 wins were by double digits, including a 15-point and a 19-point win over fellow 1-seed Texas, who, yes, beat you in their gym by 4. I'm not here to say, because Elijah and I talked about this earlier, I'm not here to say the UConn game didn't happen. It happened. And it was a spectacular win for UConn and a really bad loss for the Gamecocks. That's the fact part of it. And, yeah, Carolina lost by 15 to UCLA. But South Carolina has more quad 1 wins. Mm-hmm. They have the number 1 strength of schedule in the country. Again, not here to raise too much of a ruckus over this. What kind of ruckus? But when you've got – this isn't about Elijah. This isn't about you or me or the audience that's listening or – Rebecca Lobo and Andrea Carter and Charlie Cream last night and Coach Peck, who all pretty much, I think all 5 of those folks last night were surprised.
Yeah, in agreement.
Yeah. And Charlie, and again, Carolina steamrolled through the Southeastern Conference tournament. And there's 10 schools from the Southeastern Conference going to this event. It's pretty good.
Loaded conference.
Here's Coach Staley reacting to, yes, a 1, but not the overall 1.
We're going to play it. Obviously it's disappointing. It really is. I'd like to get some feedback on how they came to that conclusion. Because we manufactured a schedule that, if done right, it should produce an overall number 1 seed. But I will say this: we're going to make adjustments to our schedule in the future if the standard is the standard. If that's the standard, then we can play any schedule and get a number 1 seed.
I don't think she's wrong. And earlier today, I looked right into the eyes of Elijah Campbell, and I asked him if South Carolina's schedule and results were all the same this year, save for the Connecticut game. And instead of playing Connecticut, South Carolina had played Central Connecticut and had won by 29 or more points. Are they the number 1 overall seed? Because
Probably.
that seems to be what the committee is telling them. Now, what I also thought was funny in last night's selection show with that same 5-person panel, Ann Holly Rowe, I think, said it too. Please don't stop scheduling Connecticut.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And look, they won't. They won't. But Dawn has a point. If you're going to come out, Elijah and I said, and I don't know how many of you might agree with us, but we came to the conclusion earlier today. If you're Miss Dawkins, Dorita Dawkins, the chair of the committee, you just come out and say, hey, we had a time with this. And believe it or not, for as simple as what I'm going to tell you sounds like, I promise you it wasn't so simple. But the margins were so razor thin that we just finally said UCLA beat South Carolina. And that's what we came up with.
And that would have been acceptable.
I think everybody at that point would have gone, all right, I got you. Now, you still can sit here and parse the resume.
Yep.
How big a deal it is, I don't know. Again, the good news for South Carolina basketball, of the 4 1 seeds, you are absolutely the closest to home. You are 5 hours away. I don't know how far, look, not everybody, but, I mean, Columbia, the state of South Carolina, those of you, if you live in Atlanta and you're a Gamecock fan, heck, you're even closer. Mm-hmm. I've driven to Birmingham a whole bunch in my life. It's about 5.5 hours. Not hard, as long as you don't hit any crap through the ATL. So my advice to you is leave Columbia at like 11. And you get there, boom, you're good. Because then you miss you get to Atlanta around midday. You miss lunch hour and you miss rush hour. Anyway, seriously, but Austin's farther away. And the 2 LA schools are the 1 seeds in Spokane. That's a long way. So, is it a big deal? No. Does it add a little extra fire to the Gamecocks? Yeah. Do the other schools in the tournament want that? No. So in the grand scheme, is this a blessing in disguise? Probably.
You know what's really annoying about that? It's using a game that doesn't involve the 2 teams as the deciding data point between which one is the number 1 overall seed, and ignoring things like number of quad 1 wins, record in the quad 1, which both teams, fantastic. Mm-hmm. The average ranking of the teams you beat, the average ranking of the teams you lost to. And then if you just want to have some miscellaneous facts, like South Carolina's got 5 wins against teams in the net top 10. UCLA has 1.
They beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Again, South Carolina has 2 losses against 1 seed.
Yeah.
And 1 loss against a 2 seed. And again, the Connecticut game happened. The Connecticut game got away from South Carolina, and South Carolina could not find its footing again, figuratively or literally, because the footing was what killed. You kept getting beat.
And it's in terms of the amount of times or the amount of quality of teams that both teams have played. UCLA's schedule is really good. It's 6th in the country for a reason, but South Carolina's is number 1. You look up and down the net top 10. South Carolina has played every single one of those teams minus Notre Dame and Kansas State. They have played the rest.
Did this committee want to just give someone else the number 1 overall?
I think there's a lot of Gamecock fatigue that existed in that room. If you're honest, if we're just being honest with ourselves, we do both resumes, blind resumes side by side, there is absolutely no way you would say UCLA's is better in terms of an overall body of work.
Right.
You could not reasonably say it is better.
You can't.
If you want to say they beat them head-to-head and it's really close, I understand that principle.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if we're just parsing through resumes, you can't tell me that one's better. It's the same reason that Notre Dame was ahead of South Carolina when they did the
like a month ago.
Release a month ago.
Yeah.
And that was absurd. That was even more absurd.
That was silly.
But using that kind of mock bracket for that selection
Same committee,
and then see the one they put out yesterday, it does feel like there's a little bit of a slight.
I think
fatigue.
I think we see that there might have been an angle from the get-go of let's not harm South Carolina. I don't think they're trying to do that. Let's see if we can find a path to where they're not the number 1 overall.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to accuse anybody of that, so that's not what I'm saying. But it did, again, because even the Notre Dame, everybody was like, wait, what? Notre Dame? Yeah. Really? Notre Dame?
That one was atrocious.
This
one's at least somewhat understandable if you just use the data.
Yeah, just give me the head-to-head. Just say, y'all, we finally, after 2 hours of deliberation, we finally just said, to heck with it. Bruins won the game. Gamecocks lost the game.
Well, now if they really want to make people mad, they would just say, hey, we deliberated for 2 hours. We got nowhere. It's still a dead heat tie in this room, so we flipped a coin. That would go over really well.
Meanwhile, and again, Carolina will play right around 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, right down the street at CLA against Tennessee Tech. The Gamecock men could have gone to the NIT, as we discussed a few times last week. They, along with LSU, who also could have gone, despite combining for 5 conference wins, also declined the invitation. Lamont Paris releasing a statement last night, quote, "I have a tremendous amount of respect for the NIT and the exciting opportunity it provides good teams to continue playing for a championship. Unfortunately, due to some attrition on our roster with injuries, we decided it was best not to participate this year. We competed in one of the best conferences in college basketball history. While we did not reach our goal of making the NCAA tournament, I am, however, extremely proud of the effort and determination our guys played with all season. Much sincere thanks to our dedicated fan base for its outstanding support of our guys. We will build on that and start our work immediately as we look to make a return to the NCAA tournament in 2026. And again, a lot of you hit me on Twitter about this last night. I'd say a pretty mixed bag, maybe a slight lean towards I wish they had played, but I'd say it's like 55-45. And a lot of you are like, heck no, don't play at all. And again, I know around here too, there is still lingering 20 years worth of lingering NIT fatigue. So I get it. I get it. My point was that, hey, if you get invited, whatever the rules say and you can go, may as well go. But Carolina and LSU said, yeah, no, we don't want to do that. So they're not going. Finally, and we'll talk to Coach about this more in just a minute, Gamecock baseball lost a series to Oklahoma. They lost Friday night, won Saturday afternoon, and then yesterday had a 5-3 lead going into the 9th inning. Oklahoma tied it up and then won the game in the 10th. Defense played a massive part in that 9th inning blow-up. Here's what Coach had to say about that. Cut 3, Elijah. Sorry, cut 3.
Those guys, they've been making good plays for us all year. And, if you want the ball hit to anybody, it would be especially to Carrion. He's been so good, and he just, didn't make that play. And it was a tough thing for the kid because he's playing his heart out and doing such a good job. But, I feel bad for him. But, no one play loses a game for you. I know it's coach cliche-ish, but, we should have won the game going away, I thought. We out-hit them. I thought we pitched great for the most part. And, unfortunately, just did a few things that ended up being, contributing to our demise in the game today.
We'll talk more with Coach coming up in just a few minutes. South Carolina will play College of Charleston here in Columbia, but over at beautiful Segra Park tomorrow night. I believe that's a 6:30 first pitch with Coach Holbrook's team coming up from Charleston. All right, that's our integrated media headlines. Oh, and by the way, Rory McIlroy today. I said I was going to do that one for you. Rory won a 3-hole playoff against J.J. Spawn. J.J. came about 2 inches short yesterday of winning this event. They went to a playoff this morning, and Rory was good, and J.J., bless his heart, was not. So Rory won, I think, about $3 million, man.
Hefty prize.
Yeah, that's a big tournament. It's fun. I love that tournament. So good stuff for Rory. All right, Coach Paul Maneri on the other side of the break, talking more Gamecock baseball. You are listening to the Postgame Show. 18 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Monday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Appreciate you. Drive around the SEC still to come. Lots of teams getting in. And by lots, at least on the men's side, a record number into the NCAAs. That was 14 on that side, 10 for the women. We'll do all that for you coming up in the drive around after we talk to our next guest. We always appreciate his time. He is the head baseball coach at South Carolina, Paul Maneri. Coach, always appreciate you. I know yesterday was difficult. There were certainly moments this weekend where your team showed you some things that you wanted to see. As a veteran coach like you are, I'd love for you to tell us all how you help your team, especially in a sport where you play a lot, how you help your team cope with such a difficult loss, especially at home.
Well, it's certainly a challenge, but I've always said this is when a coach earns his paycheck. You know, it's really easy to coach teams when they're playing great and winning a lot of games and so forth, but when they suffer disappointments like last night or yesterday afternoon was for us, you know, to try to keep them with a positive frame of mind and a love of the game and passion for the game and energy and, you know, enthusiasm to play the next game. You know, it takes quite an effort, you know, and, you know, unfortunately I've suffered a lot of losses in my career, so I've had a lot of practice at it. But, you know, yesterday was really such a disappointment. You know, we had a chance to win the series. I thought our team played really outstanding baseball all weekend. Even the first night, even though we lost, I thought our kids didn't back down against, you know, really one of the best pitchers in the whole country. And we were down 7-1, and we fought back, and we were within a swing of tying the game. And, you know, we just battled right to the very end. I was really proud of the guys, and I knew that we would play well the next day, and we did. And we went out there and we won a big ball game. We out-hit the Oklahoma team the first night, and, of course, we out-hit them the second night. And so, you know, the third day is, you know, the rubber match of a game. And, you know, somehow we got through. Dylan, you know, he walked 4 and hit 1, but somehow we got through 4 in the third innings, and he, you know, held them to nothing. I don't think we gave up more than 1 hit in the first 5 or 6 innings. And we had opportunities to kind of break the game open, and we didn't, you know, take advantage of those opportunities. Although we swung the bats pretty good again, we just we had some clutch hits, but we had a couple more that could have put a crooked number up on the board, and we didn't do it. So we got a 3-1 lead in the 7th inning, and unfortunately, you know, we walked the first 2 batters of the 7th inning, and then a guy crushed the ball to left, and I thought Evan Stone had a good beat on the ball, and somehow he lost his feet, and the ball hits the wall, so they tie the game. We retake the lead and actually go up by 2 runs, and then in the top of the 9th inning, you know, we get the first batter out, then we walk a batter, and then we have a ball hit in the hole at short. And I think if you ask Henry, he feels he should have made the play, even though they ruled it an error. Ruled it a hit. And then we get another out, a slowly hit ball that we can't turn the double play, which, you know, is understandable. And then we're 1 out away from winning, and you know, our most reliable defender, Jordan Carrion, just, you know, play he's made 1,000 times. He just kind of came up on him and hit off his shoulder and ricocheted, and the guy scores a run. It would have ended the game. And then they get a seeing eye base hit up the middle, you know, where we get to the ball but can't make the play, and the game is tied. And then, of course, in the 10th inning, their kid hits what looks to be a routine fly ball to center, and the wind just blows it out of the park.
Yep.
We have a chance to tie the game or win the game in the bottom of the 10th inning with Evan and Ethan up, and we just couldn't get the hit. So really a heartbreaking loss for our team, just really tough, because winning that series, the opening weekend, would have been just a huge lift for us. But it is what it is. You know, we had a chance. We didn't get it done at the very end, and now we deal with that. And now we got to look ahead to a really tough game tomorrow night against College of Charleston. Should be an exciting night at Sager Park, and I believe our guys will be ready to go out and play very well, albeit our bullpen's going to be a little bit thin because of how many guys we use. But the other guys are going to get an opportunity that haven't had a chance to pitch a lot, and hopefully they're going to step up and do the job for us.
One of the things that might be, and it can't make too much of any one statistic, again, in a sport like this one especially, but you have a lot of left-on-base numbers. And again, this weekend, I think 4 for 20 with runners on and 2 for 11 in scoring position. What's your main message to guys in terms of trying to, A, tactically figure that out, and then B, mentally stay with it?
Well, you're talking about the last game, those
yes, sir.
numbers, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, the first 2 games we got a lot of clutch hits,
right?
And that's why we were able to win the first game or the second game too. It was why we fought back in game 1. And then on Sunday, we had a couple of clutch hits, but not a lot. And part of that, you got to give credit to Oklahoma's pitcher. I don't think we saw a pitcher all weekend that was throwing under 93, 94 miles an hour. We saw guys throwing 98 miles an hour. And, when the better the arm, the harder it is to hit those kind of guys. So you give a little bit of credit to them. Some of it was our own doing. But we just got to, I mean, they can't do it every time. Hitting a baseball is a really difficult thing to do. But I was more concerned with the 10 walks that we gave up yesterday, especially, 7th inning, 3-1 lead, and we walked the first 2 batters of the inning. That's just not playing winning baseball. We have to be better than that. And, even though Dylan Eskew walked 4 and hit 1, he was able to pitch out of those jams. But even still, when you walk batters, you're turning their lineup over and over more times. So we've been a strike throwing team the whole year, but yesterday was not our best effort when it came to throwing strikes. So, there's things that we're going to constantly be emphasizing and working on, and some things we've done very well at times, but, a game's a hard game to play. They can't do it every time.
And Paul, on a positive note, I mean, you got some good at-bats from KJ Scobie this week, including a 3 for 5 performance from somebody who is a young player like himself. To get his introduction to SEC baseball and get a game like that out of the way has to be pretty encouraging.
Well, yeah, as everybody knows, I've been high on KJ Scobie from the day he walked onto this campus, and primarily because he's just a great third baseman defensively. He's as good a third baseman as I've had in my 40 years of coaching, okay? And he carries himself like a ball player. And in the fall, he showed glimpses as a hitter of being able to do some special things. And then, he got off to a little bit of a slow start this spring and had some trouble with certain kinds of pitches and got pull happy a little bit. And, he's making the adjustment to Division I baseball. But I just thought he's been getting better and better with each passing day. And this weekend he showed the kind of hitter he's capable of being. Now I'm hitting him in the 4-hole, so what do? You got a freshman that's a great third baseman that's carries himself like a ball player. And now he's hitting 4-hole for a Division I SEC school. So what does that tell you about his future? He's going to have a terrific career here at South Carolina, and I think our fans are going to be really enjoying watching him play for the next couple of years and this year, of course.
You mentioned you got Coach Holbrook's team coming up here tomorrow night. Every reason to believe that Jarvis goes out on the hill for you again tomorrow?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Jarvis will get to start tomorrow. But I did mention, that, we used a lot of guys out of our bullpen. So guys that haven't pitched much are going to have to step up. I don't expect Jarvis to go 9 innings. So we're going to have some guys that step up and do the job for us. Charleston had their game rained out yesterday. So we'll see their third starter, and they're going to have a rested bullpen. So we're going to have some things to overcome tomorrow night and really have to play a great ball game.
Coach, always appreciate the time. Good luck tomorrow. And the Gamecocks will travel to Fayetteville this weekend for a 3-game set against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Appreciate you, sir. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, guys. Good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. You too. That's Gamecock head baseball coach Paul Maneri. Again, Carolina falling 2 out of 3 to Oklahoma. Gut-wrenching yesterday.
It's a good way to describe that.
Yeah.
I feel like you had the game won.
You could hear it in his voice there, too. I think he knows that's – again, sometimes you get beat, and sometimes you find a way to lose. And there are those fine lines, and it felt like that's what happened. And yet Carolina yesterday, listen, if you had said, hey, you're going to blow a lead in the top of the 9th inning, but in the top of the 10th, Ethan Petrie's going to be at the plate with a chance to win the game with 2 guys on where he's not even the winning run, you're probably going to sign up for that too.
Like, if we're going to blow a lead, we might as well get in that position.
And that didn't happen either, you know? So, and I'm not sitting here blaming any, you know, but you got to make those plays. And I think he's right. I think Kazmar knows. They might, that, you know, you can rule that a hit, but when you're a pretty good shortstop, you make that play. And I think he probably knows that too.
The standard for him is that he makes that play.
Yes. But, hey, got to go do it again. Long way to go. All right. And again, we'll have it for you tomorrow. 6:15 airtime, 6:30 first pitch, Gamecocks and the Cougars from Segra Park. A lot of you will be heading over there, I am sure. Drive around the SEC is next.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways. We do have an accident that's causing some stop-and-go traffic over on Sandbar Ferry Road, northbound at Laney Walker Boulevard. We also have an accident on Bauer Parkway near Piney Grove Road. Looks like we have one on US 378 near I-77, and a disabled vehicle causing some traffic issues on I-26 westbound at Old Sandy Run and exit 125.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Monday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. A record-setting day yesterday for Southeastern Conference men's basketball. 14 schools made it to the NCAA tournament. Yes, things have been expanded, although the record was 11 from the Big East a few years back, and they, too, were a 16-school league at the time.
That was a behemoth.
Was that 2011, I think it was? Or 20, what year was that?
That was 2011.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was the year that UConn won the national championship. That was the Kemba Walker run.
Okay.
Where he broke Gary McGee's ankles and hit a buzzer in the Big East final.
Was that their 5-game run?
Yep. Yeah. It was pretty special.
What's Kemba doing these days?
Not playing for the Hornets.
Yeah.
I can tell you what he's not doing. I really don't know what he's doing, but I can play process of elimination and tell you that he is not currently employed by the Charlotte Hornets
I hear you.
to play basketball.
Anyway, 14 schools made the big dance, and some people find that a little bit problematic. I get it. Texas is the only one that has to do a play-in game. Yes, play-in game. They'll play Xavier Wednesday night in Dayton. Thursday, by the way, I watched Yale Cornell yesterday. I had it on.
Box office. Ivy League always.
Dude, Yale got up like 11 or 12 in the second half, and then Cornell made it like a 2-point game, and
of course
then Yale kind of pulled away again. It was fun.
The Ivy League always is really fun.
And Yale gets a 13. They get a 13.
They dominated that league this year.
Yeah, they only lost once.
Yeah, they were. Usually that's about a 3-horse race every year, but it was them and the rest of the field.
Yale gets A&M on Thursday. That could be, again, you know who Yale beat last year, y'all. Don't forget who Yale beat last year. That was Auburn, by the way, if you did forget.
And Yale lost Danny Wolf from that team, who's now Michigan center, and they didn't skip a beat.
Nope.
So they're still
they're
pretty
good. And I'm glad the committee gave them a 13. I
Gave them some respect.
I think they can. I mean, look, they beat Auburn last year. Yale can win that game. Against A&M.
They are incredibly well coached.
Yeah, they can win that game.
Coach Jones is very underrated.
Tennessee gets Wofford. Sorry to my Terrier friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that one's going to be very competitive.
The Zags will get Georgia. Auburn gets the winner of Alabama State St. Francis. That'll be on there. I'll tell you, these are Thursday games. Tennessee Wofford is Thursday. Gonzaga Georgia is Thursday. Auburn, and again, the winner of Alabama State or St. Francis. Also Thursday, Missouri gets Drake. Not going to lie, I haven't made my bracket yet. Probably putting Drake down on that 6-11 line.
It's a trendy upset. It is absolutely a trendy upset.
They're good.
But it's almost, to me, it's one of those.
Too trendy?
Too
much.
And I think, I just love this Missouri team.
Yeah, I know you do.
Mark Mitchell's healthy. He did miss the last game of the SEC tournament because of an injury, but I think that might have been precautionary.
Also Thursday, Arkansas, a 10 seed, gets number 7 Kansas. That's number 7 seed.
Yes.
Kansas, not number 7 in the country, Kansas, which is what you're accustomed to. I'm surprised Kansas didn't just go ahead and drop out of this tournament or just not take the bid as a 7 seed. They're probably like
The way their season gone is
seven
gone, yeah.
seed. What are we even doing here? This is Kansas.
They're going to punish themselves and play in the NIT instead.
Bill Self might be near the end of the line. Might be.
I think they're going to give him another chance.
Not fired.
Not fired,
just,
but
not,
like
but
in terms
is
of-
he like, you know what?
Tired of this? I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm gonna go buy a boat.
I've heard that's a possibility.
And he could probably buy a pretty good sized boat.
A very big boat. 2 very big boats.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3.
I mean, when I was a kid, I had a 14-foot Duracraft. I bet he could afford one of those.
Oh, you probably can.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 of
Had a
them.
little Evinrude on it, 25. I had a little trolling motor on the back. It was fun, man.
But did you ever, in your life, would you ever imagine that John Calipari and Bill Self are coaching against each other in the first round
the first round.
of the NCAA tournament
Yeah.
for the right to possibly play Rick Pitino?
That's crazy. I love it. God bless college basketball and the NCAA tournament. Friday, Mississippi State is an 8. They get Baylor. Ooh. Let's see. Also Friday, number 6 seed Ole Miss against the winner of San Diego State and Chapel Hill. That's also a game that's going to be on Wednesday in Dayton. Florida earned a 1 seed as expected after winning the SEC tournament, and they look good.
Yeah, they dominated.
They look good. They get Norfolk State on Friday. Vandy is a 10, getting number 7 seed St. Mary's, a very good basketball team. Friday, Alabama, a 2, gets Robert Morris. UConn is an 8, getting 9 seed Oklahoma. And Kentucky, 3 seed, gets one of the surprises of this field, the Troy Trojans. Is Kentucky a 3?
Not as they're currently constructed because they are so banged up. Really good chance there's no Lamont Butler, their point guard, who is really their only exceptional on-ball defender.
I was a little surprised last night when I saw Kentucky on the 3 line.
It's because they have 2 wins against Tennessee, and they have a win against Duke. It's
I mean, I get
more so
it,
based
but
off the
I just
strength of the wins.
I was really
which makes sense
in my head. I was like, Kentucky's going to be a 4 or a 5.
because they look like a 4 or 5 right now. With Kirk Risa hadn't played almost all year, but Jackson Robinson being out for the year hurts them a ton. And then now the recent injury to Lamont Butler, they are very thin at the guard spot. And you could tell this weekend in Nashville, they're a few pieces behind.
Let's see. Do I have time for this? You want me to do this real quick, or you want me to hit a break?
You know what we can do? We can hit a break.
Let's hit a break because I got 10 women's games and I got the baseball results as we continue the drive. There's
loaded.
There's just so much to get to.
So much SEC.
In the drive around the SEC. So we'll continue it next.
It means so much more.
Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Monday afternoon. Again, a happy St. Patrick's Day to all who celebrate. Jay and Elijah with you. Speaking of celebrate, real quick, I don't think he's back yet. But I want to say congratulations to Gamecock men's soccer coach Tony Annan and to Newcastle fans everywhere. Newcastle beat Liverpool yesterday for the EFL trophy. It's like one of the 3 trophies you can win, but it's a pretty big deal. Newcastle has not won a trophy in English soccer since the 1950s.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, and it's a big club.
A pretty big drought, and they're very popular.
They are. It's a big club. And Tony is from Newcastle, and I texted him yesterday, and he said, I was here for it. I did not know he was actually in London for the game. It was at Wembley Stadium, which is also cool. Yeah, also cool. So congrats to Newcastle fans everywhere. And to my Liverpool friends, of whom there are many.
Too bad.
I'm sorry, but y'all got plenty.
I would just tell them too bad.
Yeah.
You can't always get what you want.
That's right. But if you try sometimes. Anyway, continuing, let's not go too many more Rolling Stones
Dangerous
cliches.
game with you.
I know, right? Women's basketball, not a record, but 10 of the 16 SEC women's programs are headed to the NCAA tournament, including number 1 seeds South Carolina and Texas. Here's how it looks. Again, we know Carolina's going to play at 4. I don't have times for all these games yet. They're probably out there. I just don't have them in front of me.
I have them in front of me.
All right. Well, I don't want. Yeah, that's okay. If you want to find the times, y'all know where to. Where'd you find the times?
Just on this printed sheet.
Okay, there you go.
That was
NCAA.com.
here in the office, and I stole one.
NCAA.com. Anyway, Friday games. Number 5 seed Ole Miss against 12 seed Ball State. Carolina against Tennessee Tech. Number 7 Vanderbilt against number 10 seed Oregon. 5 seed Tennessee just missed out on hosting, did the Vols, against 12 seed South Florida. Kentucky will host 4 seed Kentucky taking on Liberty. All those games I just told you Friday. Saturday games, LSU hosting 14 seed San Diego State. Alabama, a 5 seed, taking on Green Bay. Number 1 Texas will play the winner of the play-in game between High Point and William and Mary. 9 seed Mississippi State against California. And number 3 Oklahoma hosting. They will take on 14 seed Florida Gulf Coast. So again, 14 men's programs, 10 women's programs. The 2 men's teams that didn't make it, again, Carolina and LSU, both declining the automatic opportunity to play in the NIT. Florida's women's team, the only SEC school to get a bid to that tournament. So Florida will head to the women's NIT.
Very nice.
There you go.
Build on some of their momentum.
And finally, baseball results this weekend. Let me get to that for you. Alabama swept A&M in College Station.
Talk about a nightmare start for a team that was preseason number 1.
I saw that they are the first team by this point on the calendar to be ranked preseason number 1 to fall out of the poll after the first week of conference play. They'll probably turn it back around, but I mean...
That's nasty work.
Yeah. Auburn took 2 of 3 at home over Vandy. Arkansas took 2 of 3 at Mississippi. LSU swept Missouri. Tennessee swept Florida. Yee. Tennessee might be good.
They hit a lot of home runs. It's kind of their thing.
Georgia took 2 of 3 at home over Kentucky. And Texas swept Mississippi State. So we had 4 sweeps this weekend in conference play. That's surprising.
That's rare.
That's surprising.
Absolutely.
And again, the Gamecocks dropping an absolute heartbreaker yesterday to Oklahoma. Again, if you didn't see it, hear it, anything else, Carolina up 5-3, top 9 at home. And really 2... I guess only 1 listed as an error officially. But again, I think Kazmar tells you the ball hit to him at short. You gotta knock that ball down and make that play. Carrion on the other side didn't make his play. That was an error. Ultimately, 2 runs scored. But then again, Carolina had your best player at the plate with the winning run on base. Couldn't push them across. The LOB numbers continue to haunt the Gamecocks. To Coach Maneri's credit, he's right. On Saturday, they pushed a lot. They scored 11 runs, and he's not wrong. Yeah. They listen. Stone just didn't have it to start that game Friday, and Oklahoma hit him early and often, and he was done. And you scramble a little bit, but you found a way offensively to at least fight back in that one. Again, a pretty solid win on Saturday. But that one yesterday, those are just they're the ones. I mean, I want to read what our buddy Alan Cole said, because I was going to tweet something out about it, and I thought, you know what? Alan's words are even better than what I could have thought. He said, "No loss on March 16th wrecks a college baseball season, but if one ever could, it would be that one. Just a game you absolutely cannot lose. And now the Gamecocks have to turn around off that and play Arkansas and Tennessee. Vibes on the season got very bleak very fast." It's just tough, man. I mean, and against Arkansas and Tennessee now, you hate to say, Elijah, like, man, can you win 3 of those 6? Can you even win 2 of those 6? Like, that's what you're going to need to go do, you know? And I got a hunch Tennessee could be one of those teams that's, heading towards with sweeping Florida, who's talented.
Yeah, well coached.
Is Tennessee heading towards a 21, 22, 23 win conference season? Maybe. I got no way of knowing yet. They could completely fall apart.
They
too.
Look like a buzzsaw.
But they got dudes, and they got a little attitude. So yesterday, you do your best to shake it off. And like he said, with Charleston having their game rained out, Chad may well come up here with a weekend starter tomorrow night.
You better be ready.
Going to be a tough game. A lot of you will be over there. It's always fun to go to a game at Segra. Good stuff today. Appreciate Tyler's work behind the scenes. Nice to have you back, sir.
Nice to know that you still remember what I look like.
We'll start filling out the brackets. Hey, I just picture Barry Gibb when I forget. We'll do it all again tomorrow. It's the postgame show.
Accurate.
And one final word from our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. The mission, very simple: improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care and help you maintain your body and prevent reoccurring problems. If you've never been to a chiropractic center, the Joint will help you out here for just $29. You get a consultation, an exam, and an adjustment. If you have questions, they'll answer them for you. What exactly is going to be happening here? They'll be more than happy to help you out. Once you're in the system, a Joint Chiropractic Center can see you all across the country when you travel for work, for pleasure, for sports, whatever it might be. Here in town, Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Convenient, affordable, FSA and HSA approved, Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 until 4. Remember their slogan because it means a lot. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint.